I've spent the last 2 years learning how to use Claude, so you don't have to, and this is your quick-fire guide to get you up and running fast and using it to its full potential. Now, before you make a big mistake and just start typing away in the chat box like a ChatGPT replacement, I need you to go into your settings and start extracting more power out of Claude. The first place to start is what personal preferences should Claude consider in its response. Now, you can put some detailed system instructions in here. I don't think most people really need to go that deep. I just like to give a little bit of extra context for it and say, you're an expert, you're skeptical, and you do research. Don't just be a yes man to me, give honest, balanced feedback. And this is only one sentence or two sentences, but it's massively powerful because it's going to always give you critical feedback and not just be like, hey, that's a great idea. It's going to be like, hey, this is why this is a good idea. Here's why it's bad. Here's some improvements we could make. Now, the next thing you want to do is go into your privacy settings. And I've actually got it switched on here, which I didn't realize. You want to make sure this toggle is switched off. Help improve Claude. Allow the use of your chats and coding sessions to train and improve Anthropic's AI models. Generally, it's probably best to keep that stuff turned off so you don't accidentally end up with some private or information about yourself being used in future model training of these platforms. Then the next big tab is capabilities, and capabilities are exactly what they sound like. It's what you want Claude to be allowed to do. So the first one is artifacts. Now, artifacts are massive when you're working with this because it allows you to actually create stuff alongside your chat window. So you're not just working in one chat box, you're actually going to be able to work in a second pane, and you're going to be able to create standalone things like text documents, websites, code snippets, interactive apps and documents, all sorts of things, prototypes of your ideas. So you want to make sure artifacts is switched on, and then AI powered artifacts allows you to actually build an AI app in seconds with Claude, and we'll get into all of that in a second. The next thing is a really recent addition, which is memory. A lot of people frustrated that Claude never had memory, so it couldn't find information from your previous chat, so you always having to give it fresh context. Flick this on, and now Claude can actually search through your previous conversations to give you context in your new ones. And then finally at the bottom, we've got experimental features, and this depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to use it as an analysis tool to write and run code to process data, say you want to put some spreadsheets in there, you want it to be able to write some code, some Python code to extract information and analyze it and produce a visualization, you might want to turn that on. Or if you actually want to be able to create and edit docs, spreadsheets, presentations, PDFs, then you can turn this other switch on. The only problem being you can't have them both switched on the same time, so you might need to switch through those as you go. Then we can drop into connectors, and you can start connecting to exterior services. So you can see here, Claude is actually connected or able to connect into one of my Google Drives. It's connected to my Notion, but I could go further. I don't really want Claude poking around in my emails, but you can get it to go to Gmail, actually manage your calendar or pull information from your calendar, GitHub, Canva, plus all sorts of other things in here, whether you're using Asana or want to create code within Figma. You can get it to analyze your Firefly's AI transcripts from your call conversations that's recorded. Search for jobs on Indeed, if you're job hunting and you want to use Claude for that. There's so much power in here for you to explore based on other apps you're using. And again, we'll get into that in a minute. So let's open up a new chat and start looking at what's capable. Now, the first thing is you've got different models available. The most recent one is Sonnet 4.5. And honestly, this is insane. Like, I was already a big user of Claude, but I wasn't finding it massively better than ChatGPT 5 until they dropped this 4.5 model. And honestly, for copywriting and coding, it is insane. For some of the copywriting I'm doing, I'm like putting out first drafts of things that better than what I would write. Like, honestly, the way AI can write now, if you give it the right direction, is insane. It's better than a lot of crappy human writing, but you can switch back to older models as well if you, for some reason, don't want to use the most modern ones. There's also Opus 4.1, which is its most powerful large language model for more complex challenges, for more complex coding, analysis, or things that are just going to take a little more power to achieve than something that's more efficient and get the job done quickly. Other things to note in this chat window is the plus button here. It allows you to upload information, so I can upload a file. As I said, I've connected to my Google Drive and my Notion. So my Notion second brain that I use, I can move stuff in and out of Claude really easily to work on, or I can actually select projects that I've been working on that are filed away and have custom instructions. Again, we'll get to Claude projects in a second because those are super powerful and you need to know about those. Then you've got your settings in here about what style you want it to use, normal, concise, learning, or you can create an edit style. So I've actually created a LinkedIn voice for this. Then you've got other things, extended thinking, which allows it to sort of think and reason out loud for longer, more step-by-step complex challenges. You've got research mode. If you want to do some deep research and scan through hundreds of sources, then you can switch research on. We'll get to that in a minute. Then web search, I always leave web search on because I always want it to give access to the web. But as I said, you can connect it up to your Google Drive, your Notion, and those other connectors and switch those connectors on and off based on whatever you're doing. Now, one of the biggest advantages of using Claude is for its copywriting ability. I tend to find it's miles ahead of any of the other platforms in the way, one, it sort of can construct written content, but two, the way it lays it out, and three, I can brain dump and give it voice transcripts and it comes back with a really, really well laid out piece of information, report, content, whatever it is, really well written without that usual sort of AI fluff that we're used to. So to show you the sort of thing that you can do, I'll jump into my mega prompt chest here. This thing has got over 100 prompts in here now, probably for marketing, SEO, all the sorts of things I use in Claude on a day-to-day basis. And one of my favorite is transcript to blog post converter. This is an awesome prompt where I can just give it a transcript, a voice recording, a YouTube transcript, and it's going to actually create a really nice piece of content for me based off that information. By the way, you can get a link to all of those prompts in the description below. So we can paste this in here and you can see you're a world-class editor. Please convert my video audio transcript into a polished article that sounds like I wrote it myself. Then what I would do is I could go over to something like my YouTube channel, grab something like this, copy this new website SEO launch plan to rank fast, then use a tool called like YouTube's transcript.io to extract the transcript. This is a really handy quick tool to grab a transcript out of any YouTube video, copy that transcript and put it into Claude here. You'll see it comes up as an attachment really nicely. So we've got our main prompt, we've got our attachment, and then we just hit enter and it's going to go and start writing. You can see here straight away that initial system prompt we put in to say like, hey, make sure you're giving me critical feedback, that actually with this prompt, it says, hey, we need to tweak things and give you some recommendations before we do it. Would you like me to proceed with that approach? Yes, and then I'd also ask it to write it in an artifact, because that way you're not going to get everything just dumped in the chat below here, and then every time you want to make an edit to it, it's going to have to rewrite the whole thing. You can see it actually writes it in this side pane here to create a standalone sort of document that we can work on. And the really cool thing is while it's writing that, I can actually grab some of this text, and if I put that into an AI content detector here, you'll see that it's 99% that it's original. The way Claude writes combined with using a transcript of my own words actually comes out with decent stuff that isn't just going to be AI slop that's flagged everywhere, not ranking Google, people won't like reading. Now, Claude is also awesome for analysis. You can upload massive spreadsheets of data and information and get it to actually analyze and start giving you feedback on the information. So you can see in this chat, I actually use this little plus button. I just uploaded a file of, I think it was about 4,000 keywords. Yeah, I said, here's a data set of 4,000 keywords from SEMrush, analyze it and find the highest commercial intent keywords to show me what I need to see. And you can see it actually went through and started writing scripts, writing code, JavaScript, to actually extract that data and start analyzing it. And once it had done, it produced another artifact for me as well in a really nice summary. So you can see here, I've got my sort of executive summary. It's actually produced a great report. And actually, rather than a lot of other tools, they just give you the information back. I always find Claude gives you some really actionable things to use. So from this analysis, it's given me an actual bit of a working plan that we can go off of where I need to take these keywords and how I can use it to grow my Google traffic for my website or my client's website, where I should start, what I should focus on, what we're missing. Plus on the left-hand side, I've got a secondary summary here as well, which is a quicker breakdown as well. I then even went further and said, using this, build me an interactive SEO dashboard where clients can see keyword clusters, search volumes, and traffic potential. And it actually then went and coded up our dashboard. You can see straight away, this is off just one file and just some quick prompts. These even aren't even that in-depth, well-written prompts, but I'm just saying what I need it to do. And it's gone and then written all the code for this dashboard and actually built our interactive dashboard that I can then give to clients. Now, the coolest thing about when you're working in artifacts is you can actually make edits, so it can go and edit this information. So I could say something like, please can you turn the background color royal blue and text to white to contrast it? And it goes in and starts editing the code for me automatically. And boom, we've got our little color change coming through there as it goes through and makes the edits. But because we're working in an artifact, we can actually easily use this publish button to actually put the link live. So I can say publish and copy link, and now that is a copyable link that I can run in my web browser that I could actually send to people, or I can just use it for presenting, or however you want. Now for this is quite a simple report style dashboard, I guess, but you can actually build quite powerful mini apps doing this process in Claude. Let me show you. If you go over and hit this artifacts button on the left-hand side of the taskbar here, you'll actually get into a wider artifact section, which other people have built. So you can see there's some stuff ready to go. And I guess this is kind of a similar area to custom GPTs, but also very different. You can see people have actually been building stuff, just little games, a QR code generator, life hack, little apps, little games, all sorts of things. But what's also cool is you'll get all your artifacts pushed in here as well if you click this Your Artifacts button. So for example, one of the ones I built was an AI topical map cluster, which is an SEO thing where you can give it a load of keywords and it puts them in a nice order of which articles they should go in based on what they're likely to rank for. And what's cool is it's AI powered. So actually it uses Claude within my app to do the work that I need it to do. So I could load these sample keywords in here and actually say, generate my cluster map. And the AI is actually powered behind this to go and do the job for me. And to be honest, you can see my chat here. I started off, let's create an artifact. I gave it some ideas that I pinged back and forth with it and sort of gave it an outline of what I wanted. It came up with a plan and absolutely executed it. This was the first iteration of our app that actually worked pretty well. And we went through a few times, like, can we change the colors? Can we add and remove these features? But essentially in about 10 messages, it had built our app that actually works really nicely. The place I actually spend most of my time working on in Claude is actually in the projects section. Now, projects is, as it sounds, it's for specific projects or clients, but actually it's way more powerful than that. You can see here, I've got a few chats for this new client I've been working with that's been working on some marketing strategy, some intelligence research, and some that I just haven't titled there. But actually, every time I have a chat in this, I get all my chats nicely filed underneath here, which is really great. The other thing is you can actually add custom instructions. So in these custom instructions, I can say your project instructions. So I can say like what your job is. I can give it some project overview, what role it has, the context it has available, and its communication style, which is really cool. You know, I want it professional but approachable, business focused but clear, use consulting terminology and structured frameworks, which is nice. But that combined with this next section, the project knowledge, is where the real power comes in. You can see in the project knowledge, I've actually got a strategic business overview of everything this business does, which gives complete context. It doesn't have to go and search the web or ask me what this business does every time we have a conversation. It can use information from its project knowledge. Plus, I've given it context about what I do for work as well and how I operate. So it always has those two bits of context. Now, when I start any new project, I'll usually use something like the deep research feature, which if you hit settings, you've got all the same settings in projects as you do the normal chat. I'll hit the research button because I want to actually probably build some project knowledge, which probably needs some research and some reporting. So I'll go back into my prompt database here and I'll use my business research and context analysis prompt to actually get this information. So I'll paste that in there, add in the business's name and everything, make sure deep research is turned on, hit run, and it's going to go and search hundreds of sources, read through all of its website to find the information we need. And you can see after about 5 minutes, it's gone and searched for 246 sources across, as it said, its website, other platforms where it's listed, its social media, all sorts of places to get all the information on this business and provide me a complete business overview. So this is a really good way. I can then take this information and put it in my project knowledge. Or if you're just doing research on a particular subject, you know, regardless of projects or not, you can use the deep research feature to get this really in-depth report that actually has citations to where the information has come from. People worry about like, oh, AI just makes things up. If you're using deep research mode properly, you should get citations with all the information in your reports, which is really important. You then have to go and check the information, but at least you've got the citations rather than wondering if something's made up. You'll see actually in my projects, it's not just for particular clients. I've also built myself a YouTube consultant in here and filled it with so much information. So every time I'm writing a script or coming up with new ideas for YouTube videos, my project here has actually filled with, information on how to write great hooks for YouTube videos. It's got how to write YouTube introductions, how to make killer thumbnails. So when I have a great title and I say, what are some thumbnail ideas we could go with? It spits out some ideas of how we could frame or what information we could put in our thumbnails. And again, more business context about me. So if I was to say something like, I'm doing a video on Claude AI, can you come up with 20 title ideas from our YouTube title frameworks, referencing that I've actually put a list of 10 frameworks that I like to use in there. It's actually going to be able to go and generate those ideas based off that project knowledge, not have to go and search around the web elsewhere. It's a very defined way of working, although of course you can use it to find information elsewhere around the web. So super powerful. Start using projects to give more definition, more context to everything you do and every project you're working on. Now, I mentioned connectors earlier, and I just want to show you how those sort of connectors work. So, for example, you saw I had managed connectors open earlier about what we could actually hook up. And there's all sorts of things to choose from. I've got Google Drive and Notion actually connected. So when I go into a chat and I have my toggles here, I say, so I can make sure in my settings that my Notion is actually connected and turned on. Now over in Notion, I actually have a second brain feature where I kind of keep all of my work and my projects and my ideas and everything neatly filed. And it's cool that I can now connect Claude into that and just ask it something along the lines of, in my Notion second brain, what are some recent YouTube ideas I've come up with? Obviously, this would be tailored to whatever you want. You could have a CRM built in Notion and say like, what hot leads have I got at the moment, and then start writing messages and using the power of Claude to find that information. But you can see here it's searching my Notion and connected sources, going into my YouTube ideas page that I have within my Notion platform and fetching that information to feed back to me. You can see here at the top, Claude in X minutes, which is this video I'm filming now. Educational listicle format, teaching Claude in a fast track course. You spent 2 years learning to get packaging that knowledge. That's exactly what I'm doing now. And because I've made those notes in Notion, I obviously know that. But for stuff I've not remembered, I can get Claude to go and fetch that information and then start working on that. And it can actually see like what other videos I did previously. It can see actually, oh, this one's status done. You finished it on the 9th of October, AI tools. So I can check the status of projects and I can actually get it to go and build or move stuff around. So I could actually go, can you create me another database? Can you go and take all these ideas and put them into my Notion? So it can actually create back in Notion as well, or go and create in these apps, whether it's Canva or other project workflows you're using, or whatever connector it is. It's a two-way street. It can pull information and it can go and create and use those platforms. And because I ask it to give me critical feedback in the system instructions, it gives me the good, it gives me like what my ideas are good about, timely topics. This idea apparently has legs, but it's also giving me some concerns about stuff that feels saturated. And just before we get into this one really cool final new feature that Claude has, you'll see it gives you a quick sort of summary of what it's really good at the bottom. It's really great at writing, as we said, whether it's storytelling frameworks, copywriting, landing pages. It's great for learning stuff, so it can actually go and research and feedback reports to you. It's great for coding stuff. As I showed you, you can actually build AI-powered apps within its artifacts. And you can even do some live stuff as well, whether that's linked to calendars or your emails or just managing your household tasks. Finally, on the desktop version and the browser version, there is an incognito mode as well. So if you just want to use it sort of in a fresh chat without any history or connections or other information about you, then you can actually use it in an incognito mode, just like, I guess, search incognito on a web browser. The frustrating thing I find about the desktop and web app version is it actually doesn't have voice function. You can't dictate into Claude, which is kind of annoying, and you can't chat back and forth with it, but you can actually do it on the web browser, on the phone app version there. I don't know if you can see that. You can actually talk and able to prompt it straight into the app, which is handy. Because if you can actually do that, you get the phone version, you could prompt into the phone app and then open the conversation on Claude. Plus, you can actually use a voice function here as well, ready and listening. Can you give me a rundown of the main features?
Coding and creative tasks like brainstorming. I can help with everything from
So you can chat back and forth on the phone app and then use those conversations in your web browser if you want to get it on there. The other thing I do a lot as well, just as a little extra bonus, is I use Google Recorder. Google Recorder is great because you can, again, record into your phone app on the fly here, hit the record button, and then actually it provides you with a nice little transcript that then you can pull from your desktop version that then will sit on Google Recorder on your computer, and actually you can paste that into Claude to start working on, especially with those sort of brain dumps and stream of consciousness thoughts. You can get those transcripts into Claude and start working with them in Claude really nicely, and it pulls out these really actionable, nice reports for you, as we've just seen. Honestly, overall, it's very similar feel to ChatGPT. It doesn't have image generation, but it generally can code its way around a lot of the tasks, and the pricing's pretty the same. You can use it for free. You can upgrade to the Pro version for $17 a month, or $20 if it's billed monthly, to get all of those features we've just talked about today, or you can go for the max plan as well. But if you're someone who works in marketing, you need a lot of copywriting, you like to create reports and analyze data, as well as sort of code up some apps and dashboard, then Claude is definitely the number one tool you should start using.